that work? It actually got louder for me. Do I need to put the input in as well? Let's do the input as well. All right. So we've got the input and the output. Hopefully that's good. Let's check the let's check. I'm gonna check the YouTube on my phone and see if I can hear it. I should be able to. Yeah. All right. So that's good. So we're good. We got it going on. All right. Let me go over here to. I'm working on two computers right now, so I have my Twitch up and running, and I'm gonna go into the studio. There's a creator dashboard there, and there's also a creator dashboard for Kick. So we're live on Kick as well. And we're gonna go into Kick, and we're in the studio there as well. All right. So we're all over the place right now. Is that better, SD? We're good. All right. Let's check this out. So I went on a hunt, and I was like, I need to find some information. What you guys were asking for, as well as for myself. I even asked ChatGPT, and lo and behold, ChatGPT kind of knew, but not for real. So here, I went to Spotify for Creators, how to write podcast scripts. They have tips and templates to structure your episodes. And this was totally not what I was going to talk about today. It was something totally different, but seeing as how I had some questions, I was like, let's do that. Let's do this and see if we can help. Let me pull up the chat also for YouTube. I know we're supposed to be on vertical too. I'm not 100% sure that we are. Ooh, that's loud. All right. So I've got all the chats so I can see a little bit at a time. All right. So the specifics of podcast scripts vary depending on whether you host a solo show like myself, you interview guests, or have a co-host, right? So whether there are some basic podcast script elements that most creators should be familiar with, like your intro, you definitely should have an intro, and it could be talking, it could be music, it could be pre-recorded, and there's software for that. I use OBS. So if I were to do like a show intro, I can literally upload that into my OBS and make it go. Now, some people are mobile. You can do the same thing in your mobile, especially if you're using something like Spreaker. I'm not sure about Podbean, but definitely Spotify. They have a way that you can produce a show. And I know Spreaker used to be live, but not so much. Like if you want a live podcast like this, then you probably want to use OBS, unless there is an app with a studio, and then you can, recreate everything like that. So, there's that. Um, so your intro is a short message that welcomes your audience, introduces you, if you have a co-host, if you have guests, top lines, what we'll be discussing in 2 or 3 sentences, like we just did. We're talking about scripts for podcasts. How do you put your scripts together? And, all of that stuff. So the intro is number one. And then you'll have a guest introduction. A lot of people tie that into the intro, or you have something what's called a segue, where you'll segue into your guest introduction. And it's just a few words explaining who your guest is, why they're here, what they do, if they wrote a book, if they have a clothing line, if they're a famous cook, whatever it is that's going on. You want to introduce that guest and tell your audience why they're in the studio. Then you have what's called a segue or a transition, depending on if it's video or if it's just audio. So spoken phrases or sound effects that indicate the new segment is coming. And so then you have a recap, which is a brief summary of the main ideas you discussed in the episode. Or, that particular, it doesn't have to be the entire, episode, but it can be, in that higher point. And over here, did I do it? Did I put it in there? Where did I put it? Okay, so the podcast script, the welcome, the host intro, the episode premise and objectives, your segue, your first topic, right? And then your segue, your second topic. And you have scenes. Your scenes are like your topics. They're super important. You can go from, one to the other. Segment number one could be your first point of view or your first topic, especially if like you're doing news or you're talking about celebrity, news. Your segments may be a person. You may be talking about Wendy Williams in the first segment. And then the second segment, you'll be talking about Kevin Hart. And the third segment, you could be talking about Mr. Beast, whatever you have going on. And then in those segments, you want to have a topic or an idea. You want to have the supporting details. Why that segment is important. And you want to elaborate with examples, evidence, all the things, right? And then transition. Create a smooth transition to the next segment with a sentence or a sound effect. So a lot of people use sound effects because it wakes the audience up. It kind of gives your ear and your brain something different. So you're not just talking and talking and talking. You have like a little, ping or a little bell or some music or whatever it is. It lets people know when I hear that sound, this topic is over, this segment is over, and we're going into the different segment. Now, the number of segments depends on how long your show is, what you're doing, all that stuff. And so then you'll have your conclusion, which is approximately 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to do a recap. And over here on creators, yeah, it does call it a recap, fit preferences, whatever. Over here, does it call it your topic, your segue, summary notes, a topic recap, which is just talking about, in summary, everything that you did from all of your segments, an episode reflection, and then you want to go to your outro, right? Thank the listeners, thank your guests if you had any guests. If you have a co-host or several co-hosts, thank your co-host for being there. Let them have the last word, and then your call to action. Shout out your social media links. Tell people where to click, where to go. Direct the listener to the newsletter if you have a newsletter or a website, your social media, whatever it is. If you don't have any of this stuff, it's totally fine. Maybe you want them to go to your Discord, and you'll say, click the link in the bio or click the link in the chat, and it will take you to my Discord. If you don't have a newsletter, maybe you want your guests to sign up for your email and or your website if you have subscriptions. Anything, any call to action that you have will go in that particular block. And then after that, it's a full outro. Thank you for coming. And then you want to say, in the next episode, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you're doing, wish them a good day, good evening, good night, and then move on. So clear time blocks for each section, step-by-step instructions, keep you on track, plenty of audience engagement points, call to actions, questions. You can talk to your audience, ask them who, what, when, where, and why, all the good things. Visualization, if your podcast is visual. If you want to remain faceless, you can definitely do that, especially using OBS. You can see on my screen. If I don't want to be on my screen, I can literally remove the camera with a click of a button, and you still have everything else on the screen. You just don't see me. And then if I want to come back, and it just depends. You may have different scenes, and in each scene in your OBS, all you have to do is click it, and then it'll take you from one scene to the next. And it's smooth and seamless, and it just really works. So yeah, I enjoy that. I totally like that. And I'm trying to figure out why my computer has two windows open. I'm like, what is that? What are you doing? My second computer does some weird things, but it's strictly for visual, so that I can check the chats, and I'm checking YouTube, Kick, Twitch. I tried to check Vigo, but it doesn't really work too good, so yeah. And I kind of feel like something happened with Twitch. Twitch is just not my friend lately. Like, I don't know. So it cut the stream. But over on Kick, we're still going. And over on YouTube, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to check out Twitch and see what the problem is, because I don't know. So, for today, like, let's put this in a segment, right? So the theme would be Money Moves Monday. Mindset, strategy, which we're doing now, planning, also doing, and earning money. If your show flows seamlessly, you're going to get watch time on YouTube. You're going to get gifted in different things. People like structure. If you notice the shows that have gone on, whether they're online or on TV, we watch them because they're clear and precise, and they're easy to understand, and you get a lot of information in a little bit of time. 1 hour on TV, and that's a talk show. I don't care if it's Steve Harvey, I don't care if it was Wendy Williams, I don't care who you're watching, you get an hour. And in that hour, you are going to learn a whole lot. So the trick is to let's learn how to pack that information, that podcast information, all of the things in that hour without leaving any of the important points out and removing all of the fluff, right? So you've got to have the theme, and then you've got to have a purpose. What's the purpose of this show? Money Moves is to inspire and teach your audience to start the week focused on making money. And if you don't know what your purpose is for the show, get some help. Google some stuff, use AI, there's Perplexity, there's ChatGPT, there's all types of things that, you can use to try to help you out with that. And then you want to get your content focused. And this is something that I had a hard time doing. I knew what I wanted to do, but making those bullet points, you really need some help if you're not knowledgeable, if you're not experienced in that. Maybe the show that you're doing now is completely different from a show you did before. Maybe before you didn't have co-hosts, and now you do, right? So, for this show, for example, the first bullet point is to teach concepts from your Money Moves book. Then, goal setting, income planning, and business mindset. Number 3, share real life examples and challenges to motivate action. This whole episode is personal experience because you're watching this live in action, and so the whole thing is watch her work, watch what she's doing, right? And then reoccurring segments is what people really like. This is the hook. This is like, ooh, I can't wait. Remember Hot Topics? Wendy Williams had Hot Topics. People loved Hot Topics. And for, I don't know, for like the first couple of years on YouTube, I had a Hot Topics show. Like I just took that segment and turned it into a whole show. And so reoccurring segments really hook people in. You can have Money Move of the Week. You can have Money Motivation. You know, whatever those reoccurring segments are, to get people going, I wonder what she's going to say. Maybe it's a cooking segment, and for 2 minutes in the show, you're going to teach somebody how to make the perfect pasta or something like that. This is great. Even if you're not in the kitchen cooking, you can have pictures. You can use B-roll, whatever it is. Where to get B-roll? That's a good question. Ooh, Pexels. Pexels is a really good website. I've used it several times when I was uploading videos before I started live streaming everything. And Pexels is good because you can get pictures and you can also get videos. And say, for instance, when again, you want food, right? You can just go up here and first you want to make sure you get videos, right? And then type in food. And you get all types of food. But maybe you're looking for something specific. Cooking steak. And boom, it brings up all the videos of all different types of steak. You didn't say beef, but you've got salmon steaks, you've got pork steaks, you've got beef steaks, all different types of steaks. And you can have as much B-roll as you want in your live stream or in your recorded podcast or video. Now just about everything is a podcast, right? Everything wants a podcast. Everybody wants a podcast, even if it's a live stream. But this is just a website that I like to use to get as much B-roll as I can or pictures. And Pexels is totally free. I do think they have where you can like upgrade. I don't know. I thought they had an upgraded version, but maybe everything is just free. It may be that you click on the video and the video may or may not be free, right? But yeah, I know you. And maybe the app, because when I have the app, if you ever upload or podcast mobilely, you know the website looks different from the app, and so yeah. Now, if you have sponsorships, you want to go back to the script writing. You'll do your intro, your guest introduction, and then you want to segue into your who's sponsoring this show. So if you have sponsorships, if you have brand deals, if you have the mom and pop shop who said, you know, I'm going to give you $50 just for this show, you may have people who want a subscription. They have an Avon business or a Mary Kay business or whatever it is, candle business, and they want to sew into your business. They can do a subscription. And you can set stuff like that up on PayPal or like I do. If you can see this is PayHip. And on PayHip, you can have, you know, all types of things. And so for the ministry, I have like partner with EVM. I see 10 people have visited there. I have a mentor membership. 12 people have visited there. And you can have all different types of memberships. And if people want to be a reoccurring ad on your podcast or your YouTube channel or whatever it is, you can set that up. And it doesn't have to be PayHip. This is just what I use. And that just makes it a lot easier, right? So we have that going. So we've got our summary notes, our topic recaps, our episode reflection, and then the outro and the call to action. So each script is a little bit different. Where over here, it tells you about the conclusion. Your conclusion is your recap, your call to action or CTA, your teaser for the next show, which is what I was telling you about, and then your outro, where you want to thank your listeners and provide, a final, be good and I'll see you next time. And so this gets people ready for the next episode, whether that's tomorrow or you're doing it once a week or Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever your schedule is, right? Now, if you have co-hosts, this is going to be a little bit different. Co-hosting your show outline, good job. When multiple hosts are involved, a script is essential to ensure a smooth flow and that hosts don't talk over each other. And that's something that really gets on my nerves, is that when I can't understand what one host is talking because the other host is talking and they start overlapping and talking over each other, this outline will help. So you have your opening or your intro, you've got music, you've got the welcome where all of the hosts will be with the audience and introduce the show. And then you've got the episode overview where one host will give a brief high-level summary of the topics to be discussed for the day. Now, you've got segments. There is a possibility where each host will cover a segment. But if every host is to talk within that segment, then you'll have the one host introduce the main topic or discussion, and then host number one, host number two, and then so on and so forth. And you've got the introduction of the topic or question of the day. You've got the other host that will offer a different perspective or expand on what the first host said, right? And so on and so forth. And then other hosts can engage in a back and forth discussion, not overlapping each other, and referencing scripted notes and points. It's very important to have notes. What does that mean? That means that you're going to have to pre-write your show, because doing it on the fly could create a disaster, and you don't want that, right? So the main topic and discussion for segment one, and then segment two, a different angle, right? You want to talk about, maybe first you talked about finance, and so here you're going to talk about the new tech that came out, right? So the second host will then give the lead. And then in the third segment, maybe the third host. Or if there are only two of you, you go back to the first host. You get what I'm saying? So you're going, in order to create a flow, if you will, instead of everybody talking over each other and it just being a mess. At the end of all of your segments will come again the conclusion. You want to recap. All of your hosts will give a short summary and key points. Say, for example, host number one did finance. Host number two did cooking. Host number three did tech. Then each one of them will give a recap within what they talked about. And then you do your call to action. Usually that comes from one person. They deliver a shared call to action. If you want, follow me on Instagram. Follow the show on Twitter. You can catch a recap of the show on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is. And then always let people know. You can go to our bio or you can go to the link in the description, wherever you have links to catch the replay if you didn't catch the live show. And then your teaser. The teasers are really important. This shows the audience that you are prepared. On the next show, we're going to be talking about Tech Tuesday, and we're going to be introducing brand new apps that just came out in 2025 that could make your life a lot easier as a content creator. That's it. Easiest, pie. And then your outro, all of the hosts will thank the audience and say goodbye and welcome them back to the next episode. And that's it. So if you have a narrative show, this is like for documentary style or story driven podcast. Like if you are by yourself and you're narrating, right? A word for word script is often necessary, especially when mixing in sound effects or, some sort of audio, right? So let's go. This is just a mock. This is not set in stone. You can always do your show the way you want. This is just a lesson, right? So for this part of the class, Act 1 is the setup. Your music, your soundscape, set the mood. Then you go into your narration. Introduce the central character or event or mystery, whatever, true crime, whatever it is. Introduce it. Then go into scene 1. Use sound effects if you want, narration to describe a key moment, however you want to start that scene. And then narration. Set up, the incident or the show, the story, central question of the story, however, but set it up because in Act 2, you're going into the meat and the heart of everything. This is called the rising action. So the narration is to explore the background, history, or context of the story. I know this because I used to do true crime. And every episode for 3 years, I talked about one story because it was ongoing. It was the Tim Norman story. So at the beginning of every video, for people who could have been brand new, people who didn't know what the show was going to be about today, we are talking about Tim Norman. Tim Norman did such and such and such to his nephew. You may remember him from Sweetie Pie. His mother was famous. She sang for Ike Turner, blah, blah, blah. And so that's how we would start the show. And then go into today's information. You would describe another pivotal scene, potentially involving, interviews and what happened on the show. We would pull up, documents, what people now call receipts. We would pull all that up, right? And then you want to hit some music or go to a sponsor or, just kind of, break a little bit and then go into narration and introduce the next segment. So Act 3 would be the climax and the resolution. This is where you get into the new information that nobody's heard before, especially not on your show. So you guide the listener through the story climax. You describe the resolution of the central problem, and then provide commentary and context on the outcome, where we are right now in this scenario, and then you go into the conclusion. So it's really easy. The narrative show outline is for somebody who, again, I love to make true crime an example because I have experience with that. Also, if you're a reader, like if your whole YouTube channel is just for reading stories, this would be great um, because there's always a cliffhanger or a book. If you're reading a book, for whatever reason, you have a book club and you're reading the book, and maybe you only have 30 minutes, you're always going to break things down. And after you get done, you want to do the conclusion. So the narration would be to tie up any loose ends, summarize what you have, or the end if you're at the end, and then go to your outro. And your outro would basically be the same. Thanking everybody for listening, doing a call to action, and then closing the show out. So when I interrogated ChatGPT, ChatGPT gave me a lot. I gave ChatGPT a lot, as you can see, and then it would reiterate or try to do, things in its own way. So let's look at what ChatGPT did. So I'm a solo host, and it was outlining my Money Moves Monday for me. an episode focused on breaking big money goals into daily actions, and it said that I should have a hook at the beginning of my introduction. And the hook um, example is, what if I told you that you can hit your weekly income goals every single week starting today? Welcome. Hi, C Cubs. This is your girl, 20 Yvette, blah, blah, blah. And then the value promise would be, today I'm teaching you step by step how to turn big money goals into daily doable actions, and so forth and so on. So I completely understand what ChatGPT was saying right there. Then you have the segment number one. And as you can see, Chat, unlike Perplexity, unless asked, will give you time. Now, I noticed that ChatGPT will give me a time over by my title, whereas Perplexity did not. I saw some movement over here. Twitch is still offline. I don't know what happened. Hey, Rooting Kick. Class is almost over, so. I mean, it's 8:07 in Alabama, and I got a late start because I had a doctor's appointment, so I'll have to tell you about that on my other channel. But anyway, we broke down segment one, the topic idea, breaking your weekly income goal into daily targets, and then you would give a supporting detail or a how-to, right? And then your transition or your segue. You want to transition into the next segment, and then it broke it down for me again. It gave me a time, not a time limit, but kind of like a summary of what my time looks like. This may take 7 to 10 minutes depending on my information. Now, if you're just going on the summary that ChatGPT gives you, regardless of what your topic is, it may not take this long unless you have a lot to add or you have videos or pictures or receipts or something like that. It could be a little different. But again, that segment should be your topic and idea, your supporting details or how to, if you're how to cooking, how to making your perfect cup of coffee, it's always going to be the details. It's always going to be the meat, right? And then you will transition and do the same thing for the next segment, right? And always do a call to action when it's getting close to the end, of the show. You want to keep reminding your audience to do a call to action. Grab your planner or notebook, write down your weekly goals, write down that recipe, write down ways that you can make your podcast better, and then end up with your conclusion. A conclusion normally shouldn't take longer than 3 minutes. If it does, that means that you have more than one host, in which case it still shouldn't take longer than 5 minutes. Saying thank you, doing a call to action, and goodbye should not be that hard. For example, your recap should be summarizing the key points that you had in today's show. Your call to action. If this helps you, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click the link in the description. Hashtag me on all social media, and I'll shout you out, or wherever it is. And then your teaser. Next week on Money Moves, we'll be diving into, or tomorrow on Tech Tuesday, we'll be diving into whenever your next episode is. And then finally, the outro. Thanks for spending time with me. Keep moving, keep growing, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is not my outro. Let's give ChatGPT our actual outro. Because we do have an intro and an outro. That we do every single show. And let's see what chat says. Yeah. Revise. Let's see. We're going to make it for tomorrow's show. Tech Tuesday, please. Actually, no. Let's make a template using my personal intro and outro using about 4 segments. Um, let's see. Now this one right here was kind of okay. Oh, your slides. If I was using, slides and all that kind of stuff. The conclusion and all that kind of stuff. Not forgetting the conclusion of the podcast and CTA. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up. So, absolutely, Teacup, let's build a Tech Tuesday live stream podcast template. So, hey, Teacup, it's your girl 20 Yvette, aka Queen T, and welcome to Tech Tuesday, where faith fuels and hustle, beauty expires, and every live stream has a purpose. This is so gonna have to be redone, but ChatGPT is only as smart as the information you give it, right? Everybody's welcome here, so grab your snack, get comfy, and let's speak on it. So, what would I change? AKA Queen T, and welcome to Tech Tuesday. Um, this right here. Yeah, we're removing this because you changed my entire show when you gave me the weekly outline, and none of these match the weekly lineup. Alright, so then ChatGPT says, Tech Tuesday. Welcome to Tech Tuesday. What? Did you do it again? Okay. Alright, I'm gonna ask. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question. And I want an answer this time. How does this tie into a financial channel or podcast? It doesn't. Exactly. Okay. So can we say that again from now on you will do what I ask? Please. Absolutely. From now on, exactly what you asked, no assumption, no changes unless but thank you. Because that's crazy. That is insane. Okay. Are you now able to fix the script template? Hey, Teacups, Girls Want to Get That, aka, and welcome to Tech Tuesday, where fit. Seriously? You gotta be kidding me. Wow. You can't be serious. Why would you keep the intro like that for a finance channel or podcast, and I just asked you not to do that. I said remove that. We are not talking about beauty or faith or any of those things on this channel show. Now, here's the thing with Chat GBT, you will definitely do a lot of arguing. That's insane. We're diving into the blank and breaking it down step by step. You take action time and grow your skill. Grab your snacks and get comfy and let's get into. I don't care about any of that. So now it gives us this template. It gives us the intro, and then it gives us a hook, and then it gives us a value promise, and it gives us engagement props. And then it goes into segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4, and then the conclusion. Now, the conclusion and call to action looks a little bit different from conclusion, narration, and outro. This conclusion, the outro listeners thanks, episode teaser, call to action. So I'm going to give ChatGPT a couple of examples. And these are professional examples. This is a solo, outro, call to action, the elements, your outro and your call to action, time to assemble the elements. So again, these are all professional, right? And we use pixels, so we talked about pixels, alright? Conclusion, narration, and outro. And again, this is like a solo host or co-hosted. So the conclusion, I like this conclusion better. Example, outro. Okay, what is this? Alright, so again, do you not know how to edit without removing the brand? Alright, now let's go back up to what we had before. This was the example. I'm going to say an example outro to fix. Mm-hmm. No, this is like an example of what you have to go through with ChatGPT sometimes because ChatGPT doesn't understand. Even though I'm giving it my intro to be edited without removing my name. And then what did I do? Example, copy. Alright. Can you edit or not? Let's see what chat does. Yes, I can. Let's see what it says. It says, well, teacups. Today we covered next. That's weird. Why would you? Teacups is right for today. That's strange. That isn't how you write a proper outro using a company's branding and tagline. This is weird. Do you have any of how a proper show outro is to be organized? So, recap, brand reinforcement, call to action, teaser, file, sign off. Okay. Brand reinforcements, before we make executive payments, call to action, if you value today's episode, next week we'll be diving into next episode. Thank you. Okay, so it says the call to action is strange. Tech Tuesday, be sure to check out the links. Number 3 doesn't give a call to action, doesn't direct the viewer or listener anywhere, and number 5 isn't my branded thing. Not sure where you got that, but please erase that and use mine. And it always says, now I understand completely. Like, no, you don't. Next week, we're breaking down. Thanks for sharing the details. What is this? That is so weird. That is weird. If I wrote it, I'm just like, this is the frustration I have. In here, make sure you click in the be sure to tag me in this. This is strange. Alright, let's go to the files. That's weird. ChatGPT is strange sometimes. Like, I don't understand any of the things. Okay, let's go into dogs. I don't understand what it does sometimes. Like, it's just odd. Um, Now, this is going to be hard because, um, no, that's not it. I don't know what that is. Alright, how to monetize your content. Um, did I even, let me see. Nothing. Show. Um, Oof. I'm gonna have to get out of this chair. I can't even, like, a pillow or nothing you know, will do right at this point. Hmm. 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 Let's look into the whole computer and see. Nothing. And then every time I try to open it, okay, so we're opening now. And this is not what I was looking for at all. And that's not it either. So this is kind of weird. And the fact that ChatGPT um, doesn't have the original is crazy. Hmm, strange. It should be like right there. It says save the intro and outro. So would it be here? Can you save my intro and outro? Absolutely. Tickets are first. Welcome to River Snack. Um, subscribe. All social media with the channel. Make sure you click on like what it is that you post with this. That wasn't. Hmm. That is really weird, and I can't find it anywhere. Strange. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. No. Hmm. And I'm searching everything for everything. Like, wow. That is weird. How did this just disappear like that? That's crazy. I don't understand. Wow. Hmm. Well, I am flabbergasted, to say the least. I mean, I'm shook because I don't understand what ChatGPT has going on. So this is strange. Um, and then this right here is definitely not. Wow, this is crazy. I did not do that. Thank you very much. So you're all those bells and whistles. I swear, everywhere is something ding, 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 ding. Alright, so I'm just going to download this stuff in PDF to close these windows because there's a lot going on. And while it's trying to do that, because obviously I'm buffering for no obvious reason, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Alright, Canva, I don't know what the deal is, but let's get a move on here. I can't. Canva, you're too much. Everything is too much at this point. Like, it really is. I'm not even kidding. Like, everything is too much right now. I cannot. What is the matter? No, it's not even Canva. It may be Canva because Canva does do this sometimes, but Poster My Wall does that sometimes. I think it uses up too much memory, and it's just weird. Um, then everything goes blank, and it doesn't, want to do what I ask it to do. It's just like really weird. It's really weird. I think what I'm going to do is just close it out. You don't have to remember anything. And ChatGPT is useless at this point, so we're just going to close that out and say thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I hope today's class was educational. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Bigo. YoLookAtTheBomb.com. Let me get this down from here. Let's see. Okay. Yep. We are. Bye, guys. All right. 5 new fans. Thank you so much, Vigo. Appreciate it. I will share you out next time. All right. Tomorrow on Tech Tuesday, I do have a couple of things. I have a vacuum suction. It's a phone holder, and it's in this little tiny box. So I got that in the mail. Then I got a replacement for the headphones that I was using. So it's the gaming headphones. And it sounds kind of airy or something. I'm not sure. So I left a review, and it wasn't a good review. And they sent me, a message, and they were like, "Yo, what's up? How can we fix this?" So they sent me a new box. So we're gonna be testing those out. Because for some reason this wireless thing isn't really doing it. Now these headphones are supposed to be wireless, but I have yet to figure them out. So I don't know. I may do that tomorrow, or whatever. But in the meantime, I gotta go because I got medicine to take, and they told me I can't take the medicine. I'm like, oh, so I'm gonna have to go eat something. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Be blessed, make good choices, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow on Tech